Welcome to the Concierge CPA. I'm Jackie Meyer, founder of Tax Plan IQ software. This is a podcast for accounting firm owners and influencers who are pursuing world-class service. Let's go, y'all. Hey there, I'm Dr. Jackie Meyer, CPA, and welcome to the Concierge CPA Podcast. Before we dive in, here's something exciting. Tax Plan IQ users are saving their clients an average of $40,000 in taxes per taxpayer while selling large tax plans. Tax Plan IQ is the ultimate resource for tax advisors. With nearly 500 firms on board, we're helping advisors build skills, grow confidence, and connect with a vibrant community. Want to learn more? Visit taxplaniq.com/podcast for exclusive discounts, resources, and other things mentioned in this episode. Now, let's jump in. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Concierge CPA Podcast. Today's guest is Matt Tait, founder and CEO of Decimal, an Indianapolis-based firm. I've never been there, actually, so you'll have to convince me to come. It's raised more than $9 million to reinvent day-to-day accounting operations with automations and AI-first workflows. Right before the session, I was kind of drilling that on these like AI first kind of companies that claim to do all this AI bookkeeping. And he made sure that it was clear that they are service first accounting company. They also do taxes, which we can talk about a little bit about today, but really interesting way to go here. So they're managing bookkeeping, bill pay, payroll, month end close for 1,000 plus, I think, high growth businesses, he said, yet doing it with a smaller headcount than a lot of firms. So there's a lot to dive in there. And then this year, Decimal became the largest user of Puzzle, which is an AI native general ledger platform, giving them kind of what's the front row seat of closing books in real time. So I'm curious to hear what that looks like. You've been spotlighted in Ramp, Woodard, multiple fintech podcasts. Definitely pleasure to meet you, Matt. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of you before, and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You definitely make me sound way cooler than I am. So it's a good start. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem at all. So tell me a little bit about your origin story. How did this firm start? You're a self-proclaimed non-CPA, right? So tell us a bit about your background.
So I am actually a recovering attorney.
One of those.
Oh yeah, 100%. My wife's a real lawyer, so we met in law school, and I practiced for I think about 5 years. Started at a big firm, had my own firm for a few years, and then I was a terrible lawyer and realized I hated it. So I decided to swing the pendulum and got into the Indianapolis tech scene and started helping build businesses. Ended up running a few businesses, starting some. And ultimately, what I would call the accounting operations, the how do I pay my bills, get paid, and track it all, I couldn't find good help. And I had tried to sign up the best cloud accounting firms at the time to do the work. I tried to sign up some of the best accounting firms to do it. I tried hiring. And ultimately, it was not what I thought it would be. And so I had joined a local kind of big mid-size accounting firm in Indianapolis as somebody who was like an entrepreneur in residence. I helped them start new businesses, new lines of work. And we started Decimal out of there in January of 2020. So we, started the company. Then the world ended. And we actually decided, hey, this is a great time to buy this from the firm. And my co-founder, Jacob, and I, we bought it from them, and then it took off. It turns out that a lot of businesses love that kind of operator's approach to their accounting operations. And our whole thought process in starting Decimal was that we wanted to create the best client experience, because what I have always found with service providers, whether it's lawyers or accountants, is like good experiences and responsiveness is really hard to come by. And we decided to build off of that foundation and making it so the work should be table stakes. And what we do is commoditized. Everybody does it. Everybody talks about it the same way. Sure. And how do you differentiate yourself? And you do that by like truly creating a good, scalable client experience and breaking the work down that way. And so we've done that. We do take an internal technology first approach. but we take an external client first approach.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, they say for any company, you should start with the client service experience. But unfortunately, in our profession, and I mean, myself included, when I had my own firm, you tend to focus so much on the weeds of what the accountant needs and versus that client experience. And so that is really important. Now, my team at Tax One IQ, I have an internal controller, and we have like a CFO kind of executive type that does other things too. And I have a side company for speaking and stuff in my book that's coming out, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, hey, I think you need to find another bookkeeping company for your side co. So I went down that rabbit hole of trying to find the pilots or whatever online. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like,
it does.
They're awful. I just want to go online, submit, connect my info, right? And then have this like interaction online, maybe get a Zoom if I really want one, but I prefer not to have to chat with someone like super detailed, right, to do it. So I'm curious, tell me what is that workflow like, and how do you make that experience better for people?
So it depends on the type of client. So we actually barbell our client base, and there's ironically not much in the middle. And where your company would fit would be that essentials type business for us. And that's where you care about the output. You need what you need when you want it, and you don't want to spend much time on it. You're not the type of business that's thinking, how do I double and triple in size every year? And what do I do if I want to make an acquisition? You're thinking, hey, realistically, at the end of the year, I want to make sure I'm profitable, I can pay my taxes, and I have everything I need when I want to look at it. That type of client, what you're trying to do is make sure that every single day something happens, that you're doing work. So if a transaction comes in, let's get it classified. A bill needs paid, let's pay it. An invoice needs sent out, let's send it out. And so you put people into that type of an internal workflow system where things are happening every single day. And then you give them a platform where they can log in and get what they need anytime they want it. You don't create communications as a bottleneck, and you allow them to access things at their own discretion and as they need it. And for us, that essentials, a lot of those clients, we now have almost 300 are on Puzzle. And that means that anytime they want to log in, everything's updated. The AI has done their work. Our teams in the Philippines and in the US have done their work. And it's happening on a rolling basis. We have this fallacy of the month-end close that too many people believe needs to exist, when in reality, the only time a month-end close needs to exist is if you have board reporting, bank reporting, or some external sourcing. Other than that, finances should be daily. You should be able to see the updates of what you need on a daily basis. And so unless you have that complexity, that fallacy of the month-end close, we try to disappear it for a lot of our essentials clients. Now, that's totally different for the other kind of larger part of our client base, which is the people that are paying 4 or 5, 10 grand a month for this type of work, in which case they sometimes want a weekly Zoom call. They want a monthly at the very least. Like, they want somebody to walk them through and talk through their AR, their AP, what collections are looking like, what new things are coming up. How do we see this comparing to other people? It's aligning that. The other thing is every business type is different, and you don't want to give the essentials client base the same TLC and Zoom meetings all the time as you do the kind of larger premium clients. And the premium clients want to feel like they're getting what they paid for. And so that's where you really break it up. What we find is a really tough place is that messy middle, where you have a $1,500 a month client that expects $5,000 worth of work, and they're only paying $1,500. And so we've really learned to barbell that work and design the experience around what the client really needs, and then putting them into that bucket.
Very cool. Okay. And I think you said you're a TaxStone user, so
we are.
That helps a lot, right?
It does. I mean, it helps on the tax side. When we bought KPMG Spark from KPMG about 2.5 years ago, it came with a tax team, and we had never at Decimal done taxes. But what we've learned is that a lot of businesses do want some bundling. They want to know that they just have one person to call for bookkeeping and tax and sometimes advisory services. And so how do you put that all under one roof? And then how do you help manage your team? Because for us, one of the biggest things that I think is a struggle in accounting is when you have the same person that is in charge of managing a client experience is also the same person doing the work.
Yeah.
At some point, friction exists and the work will always take priority. And so what we do is we don't allow our US accountants to really do much work. They're entirely in charge of the client experience.
Very
we
cool.
make sure that we have technology and our teams in the Philippines that are actually doing the output. And then the US team is managing the quality, making sure it's 100% amazing work, and then making sure the client is getting the experience that they pay for and they deserve. When you do that, that's how you're also able to expand capacity and giving more US people more clients, is because they're not focused on both and there's no friction between, oh my gosh, this fire drill came up, these clients need these bills paid and I couldn't do the work yesterday that I needed to. And so you kind of remove that snowball that exists in pretty much every firm.
I love that. So my firm was very concierge and boutique. We had 56 high net wealth clients, but I did stumble on to the fact that like us having a project manager, so to speak, for the client, which is a more experienced accountant, so to speak, and then having people that were just doing the work behind that was the best experience. So that's really cool that it sounds like you've determined the same thing. Okay, I have to circle back to the daily bank rec experience. So we have a company that's trying to compete with QuickBooks Online right now that says they've come out with the first ever like AI bookkeeping experience. So I log in, I get a trial. This is like a huge hot topic on LinkedIn with everybody, right? And they're like, tell me how it goes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm messing around. I can't find a bank reconciliation feature like for the accountant to do. And I'm like, so I email their customer support. I'm like, hey, what am I missing here? Like, I'm pretty tech savvy. Like,
right.
What's happening?
Just figuring it out.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we don't have a bank rec. Could you let us know why you need one of those? And I'm like, oh, facepalm. Like, really? Like, you're not doing reconciliations? So tell me, Matt, what do y'all do? Are reconciliations not necessary anymore? Or like, how do you do that?
I think they are, because they're kind of
that's
foundational.
What all the thought leaders I brought this to said too. They're like, I think that's pretty important.
I think what I find is and look, I've been in the venture space. I've raised $25 million in tech money around a variety of companies. I spend a lot of time with tech people. I also spend a lot of time with accountants. What I find is that when accountants make assumptions about tech people, they're wrong. When tech people make assumptions about accountants, they're wrong. And I think right now we're at this awesome opportunity of AI, but people are struggling to work together to capitalize on it. And when you have a tech company that doesn't talk to enough accountants and get out of that kind of San Francisco echo chamber, they make dumb mistakes. Like, oh my gosh, why do I need this? Well, you need it because you need to figure out why you're wrong when you're wrong. You also need to be able to show your work. Like a huge part of accounting, we're okay automating it, but when we get questioned on it, we need to be able to dive and double click all the way down and see why we got there. So you need that audit trail. And even if, most companies, the bank recs, the credit card recs, 80 to 90% of that can be automated because it's the same thing every month. So do you really need it? Not necessarily from an output perspective, but you need it from an audit perspective.
Yeah.
And audit, the like really big assurance thing, but like making sure it's correct. We at Decimal have actually handled this in a very similar but different way. We run all of our bank and credit card recs through a queue system in the Philippines. And that means that transaction comes in, they have no client specific knowledge, they will categorize it. Now, for that 80 to 90% that is the same every month, that's easy, it's done. but that it's that 10 to 20% where people have to be right. And without context and without the ability to double click in, they'll be wrong every time. And so you need to have client specific knowledge that you can layer on top of that to make it happen. So that, and I know the tech company that you're talking about. And I think the whole theory of we're going to replace accountants. I'm not an accountant. I'm a lawyer and a tech person running an accounting company. It's just not going to happen because people aren't going to trust technology for a couple of generations. I'm in my 40s. I am never going to trust a self-driving car. I'm probably going to get dumber and get like a 66 Mustang at some point just so there's no computer chip in there. But like there are going to be a lot of people kind of like me that need that person to trust, that need that accountant, that advisor that they know is that hand on the wheel. And so I think that's wrong. It's actually, we chose Puzzle because we talked to 4 or 5 of what were thought of as the top emerging QuickBooks competitor AI native ledgers. We still have 600-700 plus clients on QuickBooks. We love QuickBooks. It's not going anywhere. We wanted to diversify. And so we talked to and spent a week and a half in San Francisco interviewing all of these companies to pick, like, who do we think would be the best partner?
Wow.
And we picked Puzzle because they were willing to accept and understand that there were things that we could tell them that they couldn't figure out on their own. And we were willing to say like, hey, I'm willing to change our total workflow system as this works. And so we had that kind of partnership. And over the last 7-8 months that we've been working with them, we have put a lot of effort into helping them design a system that works really well with accountants doing the work too.
Awesome.
Not doing the stuff they shouldn't do, like bank recs. I don't think a U.S. accountant should do, but doing what they should do and being able to engage with the system as they need to. I think that's really an important phase of where we are in AI.
Very cool. Okay. Got it. Yeah. I think that's a really great explanation. Now, pretty early on, I believe, and by the way, I started Tax 1IQ during COVID too in October 2020. So we're on similar paths in our history there. But you chose fixed fee pricing for clients versus going like hourly or something like that. Tell me more about maybe someone that's holding out on going to fixed fee or value-based pricing and like why they really need to move over.
I think fixed fee, by the way, can go with value-based pricing. I don't think having very structured pricing is a good idea because even within those essentials and premium tiers that Decimal has, there's a lot of variability behind the type of client, the complexity, the size. So I think that should be a floor and you build upon it from there. Yeah. To me, when we talk about kind of controller level services on down, you are talking about monthly recurring work, period. There isn't a ton of variability. Fundamentally, as business owners, we believe that should be a fixed fee type thing. We want to be able to pay for it in that way. The other piece of it too is, let's get into the psychology of a buyer. If you have a fixed fee, you stop thinking about it. Like you and I don't think about our Amazon fees or my Apple TV or my YouTube TV fees because I just know they're coming out and they're the exact same every time. If you create a fixed fee structure, your client will stop thinking about the bill. And that's a really good thing because the more they think about the bill, the more they question if they should pay it. And so if you stay on that fixed fee nature, you've hit into the psychology of people saying, number one, I don't need to think about this anymore, so I'm not going to. Number two, it puts a responsibility on the seller of services to say, how do I get more efficient? And how do I make more money off of this? And we actually tell our clients, we're like, hey, someone will ask like, hey, as you guys get more efficient and better at this, are you going to lower the price? And we say, absolutely not. Like we're going to be making less margin at the very beginning during onboarding. And our goal is to make as much margin and keep you as happy as possible on a go forward basis. Like you, we're here to make money and that's okay. And business owners love that. They love that transparency. When you bill by the hour, you start incentivizing bad behavior. And it's not just an external facing thing, but it's an internal one. And to me, when you're talking about monthly recurring work, you should be trying to get as efficient as you can keep people as happy as you can. And that's where you start to align incentives. And I think you have a misalignment, internal and external, when you bill by the hour.
For sure. Wow, preach. I'm all about that.
Plus, just tracking hours sucks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, you're being penalized for efficiencies, which is not going to be great in our modern tech age, right? So it's time to move over. So, and I like what you said about having kind of like a starting point. So that's what I did at my firm as well, is I would show 3 different package tiers, which I kind of like the like barbell thing that you said, where it's like, it's really more just one or the other versus that middle ground where it can get messy. But it was like, okay, I mean, this starts at this price, this starts at this price, this starts at this price, but everyone was custom quoted based on kind of the value proposition and the complexity of the work. And then I actually created a value pricing methodology that the AI CPA is releasing for the advisory side of things. So we can always talk about that later, Matt. But it's freaking amazing. So there's so many resources out there for people to move to these kind of pricing methods, fixed fee, custom value pricing, anything like that. So please, 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 if you're listening and you're still doing hourly, please go and find those resources and help yourself out. Okay, so what day-to-day tasks does AI really eliminate when it comes to that like puzzle AI ledger?
So number one, to me, when you're talking about AI today, it's like I tell my kids, never buy the first TV when it comes out. Buy the second one. The first TV is like $2,500 and it's not nearly as good as the second one, which is like $300. We're kind of at that phase right now where the hype and price of AI isn't necessarily matching with good economics. Doesn't mean you shouldn't test it and try it. But I think there's still a lot of kind of cost misalignment that just comes down as things get better. To me, though, when it comes to day-to-day accounting work, I do think that you can have AI do a lot of the bank reconciliations, credit card reconciliations. You always want to layer, at least for now, and I think probably into the future, humans on top to make sure the work is correct. Like you want to make sure that you have that kind of QC layer to make sure it's right. I think you can also start to automate some of the schedules around like deferred revenue. New invoice comes in, AI can look at that, it can fill it in. You want a human being to double check it, make sure it's okay, but you can take that kind of work out. I think you can also get the filling of forms. I'm really trying to eliminate people filling out tax forms. I think you can start to take away that type of form work, which also gets to bill pay. I think you can start to layer AI on top of a Bill.com or a Ramp or even like a Settle to say like, hey, here is how we're going to do this more efficiently. And then I think anything that's the soft skill side of accounting. So writing first draft of an email, blogs, writing drafts of LinkedIn posts. Like there's a lot of writing that accountants, it's not necessarily a skill set, but you can let AI do a first draft. Don't make it never make it the final draft. Let me say that again. Never make it the final draft. But it's a really good first drafter. I personally don't use it on my LinkedIn posts because I'm just that guy, but our company does. I try to add a lot of, I'm a sarcastic, irreverent type person, and I find that AI doesn't do that well. So I like to do my own posts, but I do think that having it draft emails a little bit too. We use Front for our emailing, which helps us to manage response times at scale and kind of the data side of the client relationship. But it also allows us to draft responses. And we make sure that people review them every time. But I think a lot of that soft skills. The other thing too is we talked about billing by the hour. When you talk about firms, one of the other reasons that I don't think people talk enough about on why the billable hour is such an important metric in accounting is because so many people view it as the source of truth for how your firm is running. And it becomes an internal measurement of success. And that's a bad metric. You should manage towards margin, towards profit or EBITDA, you should manage towards cash, and you shouldn't manage towards a billable hour or an increment. And that, I think, is a misalignment. So you also have you can take all the data from all the systems that you have. And this is where we do build technology ourselves internally, is to make sure that we're managing the capacity of our teams, the output of our teams, the quality of their work, the quality of their communications, how responsive they are. And you start to put really good KPIs and metrics in place, which allow you to measure and manage a really good, healthy business versus a billable hour.
Hey, it's Dr. Jackie. Are you enjoying today's episode? If you are, here's how you can support the podcast. Like, share, and subscribe to the Concierge CPA Podcast to help us reach even more listeners. Continue the discussion and connect with other accounting professionals in the Accounting Firm Influencers Facebook group or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and now let's get back to the show. And you mentioned a couple of these, but you do have partnerships with like Ramp, Gusto, Rippling. I'm curious, kind of like, what's your process of making sure that those strategic partnerships are optimal and that clients are loving it?
Well, I think one of the things that I find is really important is people call us to advise them on how to do things and what to do. And part of that is telling them what tools to put in place. And I think a lot of people are kind of afraid to convince people to switch tooling. We aren't. We will do that from the sales process through onboarding, through execution. And we want to make sure they're on the optimal tech stack because it means that they will do less work. And ultimately, time is the biggest currency of value for an entrepreneur. So putting in and making sure we have the right tools. Some of it is legacy tools that everybody uses and everybody's familiar with. QuickBooks, everybody knows QuickBooks. There's a lot of value in what QuickBooks has built and is building. Same with Bill.com. Those are two tools that are really good and helpful and integrated together. Then you have a whole new kind of generation of tooling that's out there. Gusto's amazing. We love working with Gusto. Rippling for as another payroll provider, but also as our team's entirely remote. You mentioned we're an Indianapolis firm. I'm one of 3 people out of 100 in Indianapolis. And so for us, we want to be able to manage people remotely, and Rippling helps us do that. And then some of the other tools that we use, Ramp is amazing. We partner with Brex too. Putting in the right tools makes the work easier. It makes that kind of what can be automated and what AI can do a lot simpler. Managing the relationships is also tough. And you want to make sure that you find the right partners that actually do care and want to work with you.
Yeah.
We've gone through, and you're going to kiss a couple of frogs to find the princes too. So that's totally fine. Don't be perfect. But we really do try to develop deep relationships, and we actually try to give very detailed, deep, insightful feedback on how the technology actually works, and how we think it could work in a beneficial way. I actually called Ramp a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if you've ever used Ramp, but
I have,
from an expense reporting side, it's way better than like Concur or Expensify used to be, and I've used all of them.
For sure.
I keep going to restaurants and using my Ramp card, and it'll text me and say, hey, send me this picture. And then I check out with Toast, and Toast emails me or texts me a receipt. And I'm like, Ramp, you guys could totally integrate with Toast, recognize it's my card, and I never have to do any of this. And they're like, oh my gosh, like that's actually a really good feedback point. I'm like, yeah, I know technology. You guys can do this. This is painful for me. I've done it 4 times and I forget to do it. And I'm like, but Toast is so big. You guys are getting so big. So we try to give really good detailed product feedback. And I think that's some of the things they crave.
Love that. Love that. Okay. Awesome. Okay, gosh, I've got so many like different rabbit holes we could go down here, but I'll try to kind of stick to the main stuff. I think, first of all, a lot of our listeners are fellow accounting firm owners and whatnot. Do you ever work with other accountants? Are they like, hey, I don't want to do any bookkeeping. Can I send you all the bookkeeping work?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
The first thing we did after starting Decimal and getting a couple of clients was find a CFO partner. We don't do the advisory work, so we wanted good partners. And I think we've got about 36 right now. In fact,
Okay.
I'm heading down to the CFO Accelerator live here in Orlando tomorrow. And we're going to do a little presentation. We partner with them. We love partnering with other accounting firms, tax shops, CFO firms.
Awesome.
And we're going to we'll have a big announcement later this year on how we're really trying to help more.
Okay. No, that's super cool. So what the highest demand thing I hear about, since I have a tax advisory software for accountants and I am a tax advisor, is I just want to do the tax advisory and I want to partner with another firm that will handle the compliance, right? But here's the biggest problem with that is that there's such a big disconnect between what the tax advisor knows and then it becomes this fight like with the other compliance partner, right? On like, can you do that? I've never heard of that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, let's just get this done. So how do you think, I don't know if you've noticed that in the past with some of your partnerships. Okay. How have you kind of overcome that?
To me, when you start a partnership, you have to really work hard together to clearly outline how you're going to work together. And actually put together like clear relationship guidelines on here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Here's how we're going to check in on a regular quarterly basis. How are we going to handle conflict? How are we going to do this? One of the things I find, like, just some of it's generational, some of it's just people, but that really sucks is when you try to fight via email, it's horrible every time. And so we'll talk a lot about when there's conflict, and we had conflict with a fractional CFO partner of ours on Friday.
Okay.
And he sent an email. I sent one back. It definitely didn't hit. And I picked up the phone and we talked it out. Turns out we were both talking right past each other via email. Okay. And so we have this like pick up the phone conversation. And as we hire younger and younger people, we have that conversation a lot. But really we want to be able to develop a working relationship, and that partnership needs to be equal. And we have had partners in the past, fractional CFOs that, and even tax providers that kind of look down on the compliance side of the work. And those aren't good partners for us. Right. We wanted partners that were willing to treat us as equals, and that the relationship wasn't you telling us what to do, but us coming up with a plan together. And those are the ones that have been amazing partnerships.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So how do you scale a service-based company where, we're in this crazy environment right now where no one can find good help, right? So obviously you're outsourcing some work to the Philippines.
Yep.
Tell me, what is like the secret sauce there? Like, are you able to just scale at large at this point, or what?
We are. We have never had a problem hiring. And I think a lot of that is culturally, we've built an amazing team that has a really good core set of values that we stick to. And we also, part of that is we don't measure time. And so we let people work however they want to, wherever they want to. I'm about to go move to Costa Rica for 3.5 weeks this summer with my kids.
Oh my gosh, I love Costa Rica. Where are you going?
Just outside Tamarindo Beach, northwest side of the...
Not Playa Conchal.
No, it's... I'd have to actually look.
Okay, I'm building a home in Playa Conchal, so just like 30 minutes north of Tamarindo. We'll be there in about a month.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll be just south of there, I think, Playa Grande.
Yeah. Awesome. Are you a surfer?
I was 25 years ago in college, but it's been that long.
Okay, gotcha. And how old are your kids?
I have 11-year-old twins and an 8-year-old, and so
oh my gosh, I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old too. I don't have twins though. Yeah, that's so cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
We got to get our families together for sure.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, my kids are excited because we leave Friday, and Sunday they have their first surf lessons, and then they're going to be in a surf camp. So I told them, I was like, we're going to get you surfing as quickly as possible, and then we can walk to the beach and get them out there and having fun.
For sure, yeah. So Playa Grande is like Playa Grande, Tamarindo. A lot of people don't realize, but like on that western coast, you have to be down that far south to be able to surf. the northern beaches over there, you can't do that. So y'all are right in that sweet spot. That's super cool.
Oh, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, got way off track on a tangent there. But anytime anyone mentions Costa Rica, I'm like, let's talk about Costa Rica. So you can work from anywhere. That's awesome. How do you balance, like, are you having any problems with hiring US based experts?
Nope.
Okay.
We haven't had a problem hiring U.S. people. We haven't had a problem hiring in I was going to say Costa Rica, in the Philippines. We actually are looking at expanding out, and Costa Rica is one of the countries we are looking at. But
awesome. Yeah. I've been eyeing that as well, since I'm like, I'm going to be there anyways. The culture and people are so lovely there. I would think it might be a good spot.
I know a couple of people, if you want introductions, who are using a lot of Costa Rican accountants.
Okay.
And so we've interviewed in Argentina, Costa Rica, Colombia, Mexico. But as we're going to scale again pretty quickly here, starting later this year. And so we're diversifying. But to me, the other piece is, going back to your original question, we're very clear about what the job is and what it entails. And that's in the US, that's in the Philippines. And I think a lot of accounting roles, they're not really that clear. Like, you have an idea, you're going to do bookkeeping, but you might also do tax cleanup. You might also do this. Occasionally we have clients that need this. And we just say, hey, look, your job is to, new client comes in, get them onboarded. If there's a cleanup, you package the cleanup, you manage its completion by somebody else, you double check their work, and you manage the client relationship. So if you want to be that type of person that doesn't want to continue doing bookkeeping and trying to manage relationships, Decimal is a great place. In the Philippines, you are empowered to own that client. We want you to feel like they are your client. You are part of our team. You're an equal to the US staff, and we want to empower you to feel like this is yours. And that's how you do it. If you're in a queue, we want to help you grow in the Decimal system. And here are 5 people, 10 people, 20 people that have done it over the last 5 years. So we really try to provide a clear setting of, here's where you can grow. Also, we don't want anybody stuck in the same role for 5 years. And I think that that's a big problem in accounting that I didn't see in tech. Was tech has too much of it, where it's like a 1 year, 18-month, like up and out. I think you want to be able to provide people with growth opportunities, and too many jobs don't provide that, and too many firms don't understand how to do it. And so we're able to provide kind of all of that opportunity and all that flexibility with the ability to grow.
Very cool. So how big is your team right now?
Right around 100 people.
Okay, awesome. So you've got 1,000 clients with 100 people. Trying to figure out
40 in the US, 60 in about 40 US team members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So like a 60-40 kind of split?
Yep. 30 of them are accounting backgrounds.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned KPIs. I don't know if y'all practice EOS or any system like that, but what is kind of like the most important KPI that you think that you need to track month to month?
I think profitability by business, by service line, by person.
Okay, cool. And are you an EOS practitioner or no?
We don't, but we've definitely taken bits and pieces from EOS and from a lot of other systems. And I think a lot of businesses operate way better on EOS.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest myth that you hear about outsourcing bookkeeping?
I think that quality stinks. Also, that cost is always good. There are plenty of places where the cost infrastructure doesn't actually turn out well. Also, the biggest myth, I guess, now that I'm saying it out loud, is that you can just sign people up and they'll figure out how to do the work. And like, I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I signed them up, I thought they'd do the work. And I'm like, how much training did you give them? None.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel like you have a really good training program?
I do. I mean, it can always be better. And like, you get it. You run businesses, you're running a business. It's always a dumpster fire somewhere. And, but yeah, I do think the team does a really good job training and onboarding. And and just continuing to help people improve.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And so does that come up a lot if you're doing like a sales call or whatnot with your, with prospects? Are they like, oh, you outsource? I'm not sure, here's the XYZ why I don't want to outsource my work.
We have had it come up one time in 5.5 years.
Wow.
And we're very upfront about it. We lead with, here is how we're structured. We have a pyramid structure for work. We have technology as the foundation. We want technology to do as much as possible. We then have our teams in the Philippines, and we're constantly trying to figure out how to get technology to do more of what the Philippines team is doing. And then we have our team in the US, and we're constantly trying to get our team in the Philippines to do more of what the US team is doing. That is how we structure work, which is how we provide you with the costs that you want to pay, and gives us the margins that helps us grow. And one time we had somebody say, like, I don't want to work with, it was actually an acquisition. We've done a couple of them, and they came in and said, we just don't want to work with teams in the Philippines. And we said, great, we'll help you find a new provider.
Interesting. Yeah. I like that you mentioned the transparency up front. I think that how do I say this? It's difficult for accounting firm owners, since we're so technical in nature. It's difficult, again, to think about that client first experience and be like, here's what to expect, right?
100%.
And like, if they already know that before you even talk to them, you're going to weed out the people that have some kind of crazy, weird, idea of that they don't want to deal with anyways.
Well, and when I talk to other people and they ask about it, and I say, hey, you want price. If I were to price you at US staff, I would triple your price. Would you? And we're actually finding this in the Made for America push that people are talking about, where consumers talk about wanting made for America, but they still buy not made in America.
Sure.
Because the costs don't match the ability, and people will ultimately pick their pocketbook, particularly small businesses. And to me, what I hear too many times is accountants apologize for using outsourced staff. I'm upfront. It is not an apology. It is a statement of fact on here is what we do and how we do it. And look, we're in a global workforce anyway. I've got team members in 6 countries, and that's okay. What you care about is that you get the relationship and the experience that you want, and that the work you get is as good as it possibly could be every single time.
Cool. Okay. I have a note here. I'm not sure if this was something that really happened or, but like a case study where a client goes from like 5 days to 1 day close after like an overhaul. Did that really happen? Or do you have a similar experience?
So we have had that occasionally happen with the puzzle transition, because when we bought Spark from KPMG, it came with its own ledger. KPMG Spark was a ledger plus, it was basically a bench. More scale factor.
Okay.
And it didn't work, just like bench didn't work and scale factor didn't work. I wouldn't say Spark worked really well either.
We should name this episode just like hounding on all the players in the space.
I've got dirt on all of them. We were in the bench acquisition discussions too. So like we've seen everything. We even hired a bunch of scale factor people. So, but to me, we brought them on board. We stabilized it. It was a just fine cash basis ledger. Like they're actually fundamentally, they built a working product. But as we moved people on to Puzzle, it meant that their AI on very simple cash basis clients could do almost all the work. And there are a few of those clients that came over in the transition to Puzzle that didn't have much variability, because variability is where AI breaks when it's a new vendor or a new client, or it just doesn't have the information to be able to make that assessment. People are still needed for that discretion. And so there were a few that didn't have much, in which case their close went from, hey, my people just need some time to get this done, to it's just done. And for those very simple, very unchanging cash clients, it can get done in under a day. I mean, it's basically done in real time. So
yeah, very cool. Okay. All right. Wow. I think we might need to do a follow-up episode, because I got like a lot of deeper questions to ask about the industry and whatnot. But We are almost at the end of our time for today. So I want to make sure and do our fun little lightning round questions. But before we get there, anything that you wanted to make sure and discuss in this interview with, mainly accountants as our audience. We do have a lot of entrepreneurs as well. Anything that we didn't touch on that you really want to make sure and stress?
No, I mean, I love what you're talking about here. And I've got a podcast after the first million, in which case we're talking about the same things. Like, how do you think about scaling your firm past that first million? And how do you kind of get through that messy middle of what it's like to build a real business and not just a job? And to me, you mentioned like not knowing who we are. We have very much, it's my personality. I'm an introvert to not talk much about this type of thing, but this year we made it a really big push to get out in the industry and try to be helpful and say,
Awesome.
Here's what's worked for us. How can we help you? And so if anybody listening ever wants to just kind of talk through their problems that they're having or the opportunities that are out there, connect with me on LinkedIn. I am more than happy to just chat.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay. All right. Time for lightning round questions. Okay. I have to admit, I told him the first question, but I don't think he had time to think about it. So we'll see what he says. All right, here we go. If decimal were a cocktail, what's in it and why?
Ooh, I would call us, I'm from Indiana, so I'd call it a Boilermaker, which is a beer with a shot of whiskey in it. Yeah, we do very boring, very easy things. We're that beer, but we do it way different than everybody else. So you get that shot of whiskey too.
Oh, that's a good answer. I like that. It reminds me, I grew up in College Station, Texas, the Aggies, where you dunk your ring and it's Fireball with beer. So, yeah.
Both are terrible, and I'm too old to even think about those.
Yeah. Okay. When was the last time Excel betrayed you?
Never, but I've never used Excel.
I love Excel.
Like I am a docs person. They don't let me use Excel or PowerPoint, but what I would say is screw Excel and use Google Sheets.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite non-work app that makes you a better founder, CEO, etc.?
Non-work app? Mm-hmm. I have taken a big push in my life over the last probably 7 years to just be mentally and physically healthy. And part of it's having kids and running a business and having a wife that's way cooler than me that works. And so I use the health app and Peloton apps on my phone every single day. And that helps keep me sane. And I mean, I work out in the mornings because probably like you, the only time in my day that my employees and my kids aren't up is before they wake up. So that's what I can control.
Yes. Nice. Okay. What's one accounting buzzword you'd ban forever?
I've got such a long list. I can't tell you how many times.
Okay. Just start with one.
Month-end close. The close, let's remove it. But I can't tell you how many accountants tell me I shouldn't be in this industry. So I can come up with a list of terms that I think should go. But I think the close, I think GAAP accounting sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I can keep going on. I ironically teach a college course a little bit on accounting systems, which is insane. But I tell them all, I start with GAAP sucks and the billable hour should be removed. Let's keep going.
Oh, that's so cool. Where do you teach at?
Butler University here in Indianapolis. They'd let me guest lecture enough that their parents aren't worried about who's teaching them.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's quite the honor for them to get a real world experience like that. My master's was at SMU, Southern Methodist University, and they had attorneys, accountants, CPAs that actually taught, and it was like the best experience ever. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Guilty pleasure TV show that you binge.
Guilty pleasure TV show that I binge. I'm currently in the Star Wars Andor's out right now. I watch all the shows my wife won't let me when I work out. So I read it really more on captions, but I would go Star Wars right now.
Okay, cool. Let's see, last summer we got the kids with their ages we went through all the Marvel movies. Have you done that yet?
Parts. Yeah, we've done a lot of the Marvel movies. They are getting ready to do Star Wars,
Nice.
I think this summer. But yeah, my kids love those. But they're also loving the like 90s, early 2000s movies that I grew up in. And so we love like just kind of taking it back. And then we also forget how different rating systems are now. So.
Oh, I know, right? That's where like common sense media helps a lot, because you're like, ooh, that was not like Jumanji is like so scary, but it was PG back in the day, I think.
Or like Mrs. Doubtfire, like we made it like 30 seconds into that movie, and my son was like, Mom and Dad, are you guys going to get a divorce? And I'm like, and then give it 10 minutes, and they're like, Dad, would you ever wear a dress? And I'm like, I love my kids. They're great.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, very cool. So I'm going to stop grilling you now. I think you did very well, though, with my lightning round. I hope it wasn't too nerve-wracking.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay, cool. All right. So on that note, we're going to end for today. Matt, thank you so much for your time. It's great getting to know you. Definitely want to continue the discussion around automation and see how we can kind of, talk more about making the industry better together. So really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you listening all the way to the end. It truly means a lot. As a thank you, I'd love to give you a free gift, my value pricing calculator and proposal workbook. This tool has helped tax advisors create 8-figure tax plans and save over $1 billion for their clients. You can now download it at taxplaniq.com/ROI-method. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I'll see you next time on the Concierge CPA Podcast. Take care, y'all. Thank you for listening to the Concierge CPA, hosted by Tax Plan IQ. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. If you are a successful accounting firm owner or influencer who would like to be on this program, please visit JackieMeyerCPA.com, JackieMeyer CPA.com to apply. Please share this on social media and rate us so we can continue our good work. Join our Facebook group called Accounting Firm Influencers, or connect with me on most platforms under Jackie Meyer CPA. Thanks for being accountable to transforming our industry today.